Hello.
Your panel on. I overgive it to you. Thank you very much for everyone.
Hi, thank you, and I welcome Wolf Karl. I see you, Wolf. You just deboarded your plane, I think. Hope you found a good place here to tune in. And I see Nicolas Weber. Hi.
Hey, pleasure to be here.
I think in Portugal, and Philip Zimmerer, probably in Berlin.
No, Portugal as well.
Portugal as well. Everybody's in Portugal in the sun. Wolf is in the car. Great.
Hey guys.
That you could join. Hi. Our topic today, we have 30 minutes, so I could do a very quick intro of the panelists. Or our topic first, are DAOs the future of fundraising and the corporation itself? We want to have a quick chat into the opportunities and challenges around this new form of organizational governance. For instance, the approach, how is it actually done? We have two experts here who did it firsthand, let's say. The legal topics around that, and Wolf is, as a professor, very, very deep into that topic and did also publications around it. And also some issues around the management that come up, where you, Philip, and Nicolas also have really hands-on experience, I believe, from the recent launch of the DAOs. And maybe let me start with one quote from Wolf. I found that in a Cointelegraph publication. He says, once DAOs are jurisdictionally recognized, they will likely replace significant portions of existing business constructs. With this development, it is possible that intellectual property issues under existing law will resurface in the DAO context. That's one statement. I just throw it in here. So this highlights, so to speak, also that not everything is rosy, and we probably won't, let's say, move without any friction into a world where the DAO, with those communities that are investors, but also contributors to a new form of organizations arise, that this doesn't happen, let's say, without any friction. With that, maybe briefly, Nicolas, would you, or Philip, whoever wants to go first, would you want to give us a brief overview on your project and how you actually established the DAO? What do you see in it? Why did you go that way? And maybe also where are the challenges? Who wants to go first, Philip or Nicolas? Philip?
Go ahead, Philip.
Sure, I'll go first. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm a core contributor at Spool DAO, and the purpose of Spool, in our opinion, really lends itself to a DAO managed concept. And that is because Spool is permissionless middleware. It's essentially a smart contract stack that allows the composability, that enables composability for stablecoin DeFi, while also allowing to grow with the expansion of the DeFi ecosystem. That means that any new yield generators or innovations in this nascent industry coming up can be included seamlessly in our stack, while existing users just benefit from growing economics of scale by tapping into DeFi through Spool. And because it's a permissionless stack of smart contracts, it's essentially a permissionless revenue generating protocol that thrives on the addition of new strategies based on DeFi primitives being included. And that sort of stack needs to keep growing, and it needs to grow, let's say, independently of personal opinions. So we need sort of unbiased governance. And now we have a product that can be used by anyone without requiring anyone's permission, while still being reliant on growing and adopting to an ever-changing, quickly growing industry. And that's essentially almost made for wisdom of the crowds kind of approach. So plugging or growing that through a DAO just made total sense. And yeah, so me and a group of other people started it together.
Yeah, I've been following that, and I've also, let's say, experimented with the DAO, as I'm also one small contributor there. But while doing that and following this launch process, I also realized that we had, for instance, in the funding period here, a very large contributor who basically bought in with a big stake. So I can imagine that this is also raising questions about who is behind that, what influence will they take, and how do you deal with these topics there?
Well, actually, that was pretty much dispelled immediately, because it turned out that was a pool wallet done by a private group that was then dispersed into 40 to 50 different wallets. But what it does do is it raises the question, what if it wasn't, right? What if it was one single person? And that is what a core reason why DAOs need to be bootstrapped with that in mind, right? A capital takeover in early stages. And that is why during the funding period, the LVP, we have only had a small portion of the total token supply reserved for that. And a large portion will just go out to users of the protocol in different ways, shape, or form. I don't want to get ahead of myself there, but this will be announced very soon. And there are certain methods that you can employ to ensure a decentralized distribution of your governance token, which you also need. But then there's a whole host of other issues that it's kind of a can of worms that we're opening here, right? Because then you need to ensure that the people participating in your DAO actually care about what they're voting on. So you kind of, then you have problems with voters' apathy and so on, right? So,
okay. Yeah. We dive deeper. I want to integrate in the discussion now, Nicolas, maybe from your perspective here with Meta Game Hub. So maybe you can give us a brief overview of that, and why did you choose the DAO model? Why did you adopt it? What did you do to launch it? And briefly, maybe a few of the challenges there that you face.
Yeah, thanks so much. So in regards to Meta Game Hub DAO, in a nutshell, what we do is we have like two core pillars, right? We have on the one hand the pillar A, which is focusing on, let's say, establishing a decentralized, so to say, country in the metaverse, and therefore, though, following a metaverse agnostic approach by, acquiring metaverse assets in different metaverses, such as the Sandbox, such as Decentraland and others, and then basically collaboratively governing them. Because while people always talk about the open metaverse and the metaverse generally as something that's decentralized, they are, at least when it comes to land ownership, fairly centralized still. And of course, here we, as Meta Game Hub DAO, as a collective, want to, let's say, foster the decentralization by also then building culture hubs as well as GameFi ecosystems on top of the lands that we have in the treasury. And on the other hand, the second pillar that we follow is the pillar of, like, developing tools that help users navigate through the metaverse. So for instance, one tool is the Decentraland Land Editor, which is about to be launched, which is kind of like a pendant to the Game Maker, which the Sandbox has. In Decentraland, it's not yet as easy to build, so to say, stuff, right? Like in the Sandbox, for instance. Another tool that is already live is the evaluation tool. So we've developed an algorithm basically that allows you to find, first of all, undervalued lands, right? And for instance, the Sandbox as well as the Decentraland, but also mainly allows you to then evaluate your respective land or the land that you want to potentially acquire. So that's interesting for single land owners or for larger players. And of course, when it comes to such a, let's say, topic that's like hyped, like the metaverse, one challenge, for instance, that we had was, okay, what metaverse do we actually start with, right? Because there's not going to be one metaverse to rule them all, but I think here the DAO aspect is quite crucial, because you have kind of these great minds coming together, collaboratively governing the directions, also first of all the tools, as well as generally the governance of what happens with the lands, right? And this then also subsequently led to other people also from universities in Germany, like the Metaverse Development Team, which is mainly coming, for instance, from the Aachen region and the university there, to join the DAO. And it creates like an open space for everyone to kind of shape what happens within the metaverse. And that's kind of also the core angle that we want to follow, right? That while of course the land ownership may be a bit centralized and the asset prices are just crazy appreciating, we do have to focus on the actual users that will populate the lands. And that's where we want to come in, because right now we may have that layer one, so to say, hype in the metaverse with all the land sales from the different metaverses. But what's really coming next are the applications as well as the communities that are built on top of the lands with these applications. And that's the two angles where MGH comes in. Yeah.
So there you want to basically leverage this concept of the DAO, that you have this, the users more or less, this community being also the owners of the whole, or partly owners of the whole ecosystem. Now, maybe to you, Wolf, when you hear this firsthand, let's say, experience here from two founders who recently raised a significant amount of money, both in the millions. I think Philip was the result recently, like 21 million or so, and also a 7-digit figure here with Nicolas, to get this thing off the ground. And when you look at, or I also, from my background, let's say, come more from a VC perspective to this over the recent years. What's your take on the whole topic? I mean, I brought your initial statement, so you're very positive about it, but where do you see the opportunities and challenges?
So first of all, congratulations. Can you guys all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So congratulations to Nicolas and Philip. Great accomplishment. Let me start out by saying DAOs are only as good as their governance, right? So if you haven't managed to decentralize your governance, DAOs will, any DAO is subject to the exact same dynamics that we see in centralized systems. So that's where I spent my last 10 years building math models to accomplish this very idea of decentralized governance in autonomous and anonymous systems. And so I spent the last 3 years working with the DevX DAO to implement that exact design. So Philip and Nicolas, I would invite both of you to consider applying for a grant to experiment with this design. But even if you decide not to do that, let me say a few words about the issue that Oliver identified as to what...
You're breaking up, unfortunately. Can the others hear him?
Was able to buy...
You were breaking up shortly. Yeah, please repeat the last sentence.
Okay, so this idea of buying influence, right, is antithetical to any decentralized governance. So if you allow governance token to be purchased on DEXs, you are literally inviting attack vectors that are so massive that as soon as your system has significant TVL, somebody will inevitably think about attacking that system. Yeah, in the academic literature, we call that Arrow's impossibility theorem, among several others. So in order to avoid this very phenomenon, I mean, people are incentivized to do this to you, okay? In order to avoid this particular phenomenon, one needs to, in my opinion, and this is what we've written the book about, one needs to consider decentralized governance, and that starts with non-fungible tokens, right? So you use only reputation metrics that can be NFTs, it can be a credit system, it can be weighted keys, to